Hey guys, it's Dave again, the train guy from the Hobby Man by Hearns. Today this is going to be part 3 in project TT120. So, in the first 2 episodes we just covered off on the basics. The carpentry, the planning, or actually the wrong way around. Probably the planning and the carpentry. Anyway, we've done the carpentry, we've roughly tested our track, we've got it all positioned correctly, we've laid out our underlay when we started to pin it down, and we've got it all working. We know the electrics work, we know the points work, and everything is sound. So in the last episode we did ballasting, and this is what we came up with, which is I'm quite proud of that. Yeah, it's a nice deeply ballasted mainline looking piece of track work with a heavy ballast shoulder on it, painted rails and weathered sleepers. Okay, we've got that down and we've let that harden for a day or so, and a good test just to make sure that it is all locked out, just lightly tap it, maybe a teaspoon over it, and if you don't see it jumping up and down, you're good to go. If you find that it is bouncing around like fleas on a dog, give it another hit again of the glue and just the same process, let it sit for a day or two. Alright, so that down, we'll just give it a test. Now, this is probably about the only train you're going to see in this episode. So, we'll test out the Pullman coach on it. And we'll just, and if it runs smoothly and doesn't derail, we know we've done our job. Yeah, listen to that, that's just nice and smooth. And your little 120 scale TT people haven't spilt their soup in the Pullman. You're like, yeah, that's looking really good. Okay, with that out of the way, there's other exciting, interesting things we can get on to do. And that was like putting down ground cover. Now, what I've done when we're away is I've painted the base of this piece of pine here in some Woodland Scenic earth colour. I know it says raw, but yeah, but it is earth colour, and there's a range of colours. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a range of colours, and just as a base background colour, I would probably suggest, like burnt umber, or you could even blend them, raw umber. All you really want is a dark colour, and you can sort of see how it's soaked into the timber, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be solid. It's not like as if you're painting your back fence or painting a wall. A little bit of patchiness is fine, because ultimately it's going to be covered up with some ground cover. So with that down, we'll move ahead. Now, like I said before, nothing in real life is one colour, so we're going to try a couple of different colours. We'll put down a bit of a glue base first, and then once the glue base is down, we can spray it. We can give it a good soaking again with our special mixture, wherever it is. Yeah, we can soak it down with our PVA water mixture, or you could probably go a little bit heavier on the glue. And just remember to put a few drops of detergent in, or you could use something like the Woodland Scenics cement, which is brush on or spray on. You can put, that's already pre-mixed, and this is really good stuff to use too. All right, and just before I go any further, there is another alternative you can use too. It's stuff like this grass and a mat. Yeah, but where are we? Probably just trying to demonstrate this product. Effectively what it is, it's like a mat, and it comes in different shades, and it is blended in different, you can sort of see bits of yellow through it, you can see bits of dark green. This is also a really good way to create the effect of grass for scenery, for your little TT layout. And here's one we've done earlier. So it's easy to work with, it's easy to cut, and I would probably suggest just tearing it and then gluing it down with something like your PVA or your scenery cement. Just be generous with it, and then just as if you're contacting your school books, smooth it all out. Try to keep all your cuts and edges fairly random, no straight edges. There's no straight edges in real life. All right, without further ado, we'll get on with doing some ground cover. Now what I'm planning on doing, so it doesn't look too storybook like, we'll probably do some yellow grass beside the track. Get that little tree out of the way. Here's for a bit later. Now, something I didn't mention earlier was that once your ballast has gone rock hard, if it hasn't, give it some more time, is probably run a PK track rubber, or you can rub your Woodland Scenic's Rail Pal over the surface just to clean it down. Or like I said, you could use a cloth dipped in methylated spirits and wrap it around your finger and wipe it down. But probably something like the PK track rubber or the Rail Pal is probably a little bit better because it's slightly abrasive without being too abrasive. And like I said, be careful about cleaning your track surfaces. You don't want to scratch the rail head here, because that can over time affect conductivity. So less power getting to the wheels, which is less power getting to your motor and poor running. So probably try to avoid, or don't use anything abrasive. No files, no sandpaper, please. I don't want to hear horror stories. All right, so we'll give that a damn good soaking. And a bit later on, you'll see how the patchiness of the paintwork comes into its effect. Alright, I think we've got enough glue down. Now, my thoughts are, with the track, we might go with maybe a little bit of yellow and then maybe a little bit of burnt grass. I'm using Woodland Scenic's yellow grass. Where's the lefty's pen knife? Alright, we'll just give it a... Now, there's no real hard and fast rules. So what we might do, we might just go a bit of yellow on the side here, because that's where you'd expect to see dead grass. And in other episodes, we can start applying static grass to represent weeds, or bigger weeds, on the side of the track. And sometimes if you want to represent an unkept siding, like that's a piece of track going off into like near a goods shed or something, you can often use a combination of this yellow grass with ballast just to represent something that's really been unkept. Looks good. Okay, so you can see the glue's starting to take effect now. It's really starting to soak into the grass. Okay, so that's yellow grass T43 from Woodland Scenics. Now, because that looks too stark as it is, we will introduce another colour. And it's probably the secret to scenery, is not going with just one colour. You want to have a couple of different colours. And I'll carefully put that into the side. This is going to look really schmick when we're finished. There we go. Better. And if you have a bit of bad timber coming through, great, because it actually looks real. we don't want the golf course effect. We really want to make it look like real life. Even if it is well kept, we still want to make it look like real life. Maybe a little bit more there. Oh, what else could we do? We've got this rather lovely looking sort of a greeny colour, so it is going to be England, of course. Da, 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 da. Slightly more emerald looking sort of a green, but we'll mix it up. Yeah, there we go. Da, 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 da. And you can see how the glue's taking that up, which is a good thing, because we want this all to be locked down and pinned down. You don't want anything too consistent. It's rather relaxing. Okay. All right, so we'll give that another liberal soaking. And like the ballast, we'll just give it a drenching, but be careful not to blow it everywhere. There's some yellow in there, which is really, really, really good. That's what happens when you go too hard. See how I just blown that out? You can probably just see that. But that's easily fixed. It's very hard to go wrong with scenery. And the more you apply it and you play around with it, the better you get with it. Again, probably the best thing I could suggest, next time you go for a drive or go for a walk, just look around the parks, look around the town you live in. Just observe things, and it'll help so much with this. It really will. It's very hard to get scenery wrong. And if you're doing an English countryside, well, it can never be too green. Okay, there we go again. So to let that really soak in, it'll change colour, so you know you're doing it right when that changes colour. Is there another colour here we haven't chosen? Yeah. We could even add a little bit of gravel into that. I'll just have a look at our bag of tricks here. Don't know if this is going to work, but like I said, you can always experiment. You won't get penalised for trying this scenery. So what we could do with our little cameo scene is, once we're happy with the combination of grasses and tones, you can just keep playing with it. We could probably start working, maybe we could have a fence here and a hedge. Maybe this side will be a bit greener. We could have some trees, like a windbreak for some cattle. You could have a Land Rover or some vehicles, or some, you could even do, eventually you could even do something like a farmer in a paddock with some horses. So yeah. We'll go with some of this again. Yeah, like I said, it's just it's just a matter of just playing around with it. Oops, too much. Yeah, probably overdone that. No such thing as a disaster with scenery. Everything's fixable. Okay, we'll let that dry for a moment. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I did a little bit of a sample here of this ready-to-go grass mat, which is over here, and that's all nicely stuck down. And we'll use one of the Woodland Scenic's products. So we'll just use a little bit of earthy brown. One thing I've just recently discovered is that you have this really easy to use little nozzle, and it's present even on the actual install ones that you would buy. The one I'm using here is from a training kit, but it still has the same nozzle. Anyway, you only need a cheap paintbrush or one of these little Stifler type, I don't know what you'd call them, applicators. And all we want to do is just kill the effect of that timber underneath. Just if your scenery does come away, you don't want to see timber or ply or foam. Yeah. And again, don't try to make anything look too perfect, because if it's too perfect, it's not real. Even things like ballast, when I was talking about ballast before, mix up the colours. Because you just got to imagine, if the road out the front of your house is probably being dug up about 12, 13, 14 different times, maybe less, maybe more, but they will use different material every time. And it's exactly the same with railways, same with grass. Mix up the colours. It looks just too stark if you go with one colour. Now that's wet, and we'll just bring it back this way again. Yeah, that's really wet, and it looks a lot darker than what it should be at this stage. But don't worry, as it dries, it'll come a lighter and it'll take on a different effect. So, all right, so what we'll do, we'll stop there and we'll come back to it in a couple of minutes. Go again. Okay, so we've added a few more colours to this, and like I said before, PVA or wood glue or the Scenic cement will become your friend. Absolutely indispensable. All right, so we've added some extra colours there. I've added some browns. I've added some just light white stone. Give it another really good soaking. Yeah. So I don't know. You can be the judge of that. Maybe there's too many colours there. I'll just bring it up to the camera. It might make a bit of a difference. Yeah. Maybe it's too much. Maybe not. But we can put some trees to it now. Now, trees. It's going to look pretty bland without trees. So yeah, trees are important. You see a lot of them in nature. Okay, to help you out, you have your ready packaged trees. People like Hornby do them. Woodland Scenic does them. There's tree kits. There's no shortage of tree kits here at Hearns or with the Hobby Man. So all right, so what we'll do, we've got ones made up earlier. These are ones from Woodland Scenic. So I think these look rather just sort of European. Well, they could be really anything, but we'll just put a bit of wood glue to the bottom. And we'll start placing some trees around. He's going to use the last of the glue. There we go. And there's one down. You can see if we make this look half decent. It'll create a little bit of an orchard maybe. Now, something you can do with trees too, again, don't be frightened to paint them. Paint the trunks, maybe kill off that plastic look. If you don't like it, something like Tamir, variations of brown, like I keep saying, nothing in nature is consistent. So I'm just looking at them now. They're not bad, but you know, I think that they'd be enhanced if you were to paint the plastic bits. And as time moves on, you'll get a lot better with scenery placement. Like I keep saying, yeah, just observe nature. And that's probably the best teacher when it comes to scenery. Now, what else can we... Now, there's variations on crumpled foams and ground scatter material. Essentially, it's all foam-based, but some of it is different grades and grits, if we could use it too. Alright, so I've got a bit of excess glue there, so what I'll do, I'll push a bit of that green stuff into it. And that's probably going a little bit overboard, and that glue's a little bit chunky. But we'll just slosh that around. It's probably a little bit thick. But then what you need to do too is compress it in. And it'll naturally spring back. And this is good fun. And I'll just compress that in a bit. like I said, if it's, again, like I keep saying, there's no real, too many rules when putting down scenery. And as these series goes on, we'll do other things like tunnels, creeks, rivers, streams. Did I mention tunnels? Yeah, I did. Buildings, placement of buildings, buildings. The whole range is going forwards, and you're going to start seeing some pretty interesting stuff. I believe there'll be buildings, there'll be vehicles and TT. So it'll all look you won't have to go without. There's actually going to be some really good stuff on the horizon. So if you want to create cameo scenes, you can. If you want a housewife out the back hanging laundry, I would dare say with time we'll have figures that convey that, or people going about their daily lives. You'll have all that. Now, well, I've lost my glue. All right. All this is doing is just pads it down a little bit, just helps lock it in place. Now, these gaps aren't an issue, so don't stress. Because you can always use shrubs, flowers, and you're actually spoilt for choice these days. So there's no... There. I'll put some yellow flowers in there. This is the fun bit. And regardless of what age you are, I'm sure you could get a lot of other people in the family involved. This is definitely just messy modelling. And the other thing is, don't be so consistent. You can be very random in your placement of things. But like I said, just exert nature. Then we've got some daffodils or whatever they are. Gardening's not my forte. All right. It probably takes a bit of time, but you can sort of see where we're going with this. We could actually probably, over time, we could have a fence in here. We could have some horses over here. We could have more trees. And you could actually make it look like the train's actually running through the countryside rather than around it. And what we'll do, we'll just bring that up a little bit. Yeah, so it's not bad. Like I said, this is just a demonstration, so bigger and better things will come after this, I promise you. But this is just an introduction into covering off all those questions that everyone raises about, I've never built a model railway before, I don't know how to do the scenery, I don't know how to do the carpentry, I don't know how to do the wiring. We'll cover all that in this series going forwards. So, that is that. Now, a bit earlier, we used some ready to make or ready to go track mat, which is what we've got over here. And we will, we'll go for a bit of variation. We'll just go for a bit of burnt grass around it. Lightly, lightly, lightly. Where's my magic spray bottle? I'm making a right mess here. Now, probably another thing with the spray bottle, it may be a good idea to keep washing out the nozzle from time to time periodically, just because that glue will congeal in there. Okay, doesn't look that great right at the moment, but don't fear. We're just going to do it in layers. And unlike myself, just do it in very gradual layers. So we've got this nice golf course green patch. And we'll have all this dry grass around it. Yeah, it's starting to take effect now. Don't get too frightened about how it all looks at this stage. It's just layering it and experimenting, so you can keep coming back to it, back and forth, back and forth. And just give it another liberal soaking. That's probably a little bit brutal, but like I said, it may or it won't happen in one hit. It's probably going to take a few attempts to get it perfect, but everything can be fixed. If you do go a little bit hard, you can always just put in a bit of this thicker foam, which represents grass or weeds. See, fixed. Ta-da. By the time you put a fence around it, or a stone hedge fence, put some cows in there, you'll be an absolute master. Your friends will come around and they'll really think you're a bit of a genius when they come to see your new layout. And it will be something of pride for you. And the more further you get into the hobby, I can guarantee you, your skills will get better and better and better. And just remember too, if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. It's as simple as that. You're not trying. Okay, I think we're out of trees. And we are out of trees, but there you go. It's not that hard, it's simple, anyone can do it. Actually, the whole thing is simple. If you want, from doing the basic carpentry, you don't need to be a carpenter. If you can use a cordless drill and you can cut a piece of timber in a straight line, if you can clip some wires together, and you won't need many wires, it's as simple as that. You don't need to be an electrician, you don't need to be a carpenter, you don't need to be an artist, you don't need to be a gardener, you don't need to be a civil engineer. You'll actually learn a lot of these skills as you go forwards. Whether you're a retiree, whether you're doing this with your kids or as just as a joint project with someone significant in your life, it's really, really easy. And that's fun too. Anyway, that's episode 3. Until next time, have fun with it and look out for Hornby TT at Hearns or Hobby Man online. Okay, until next time, have fun. See you now. Bye.